Hey, good evening, everybody. How you guys doing tonight? It is another lovely evening, and we are inching into the close of the challenge. Yes, 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 yes. Last week was phenomenal to say the least. Last session where we talked about knocking out all those limits, especially our money limits. If you missed it, you need to get back and watch that. And we are building upon that even tonight. Tonight, we are taking it a step further and we are looking at the mind. We are unleashing the mind power. Yeah, unleashing the mind power. How many of you know that you've got this power that you control within and outside your space? We've talked about your mental permission. We've talked about the ability to use your mind to do amazing stuff. And we just want to explore that a bit tonight. Just like we did with finances in the last session, we want to deal with the mental aspect of our lives this session. Who's ready? Yeah, it's time to get right into it. Now, first things first, you must understand that you are a phenomenal powerhouse. Let that sink in for a bit. You, yourself, it might sound like, yeah, what's new about that? Hey, I want you to just let it sink in for a bit because you are not just one part. You are a combination of three parts. I'm sure you know that by now. But every part that makes up the sum total of your identity is phenomenal. The part that is obvious to you that you can see, which is your physical body in itself, is a design marvel. Do we want to talk about the systems? Do we want to talk about the structure, the cells, the organs, the tissues, how every bit of them work together, how they fight disease, how they work together to make you to keep you alive, to help you to survive, to grow, all that. It's a design marvel. Now let's talk about the side that you don't see, the internal members. I'm not talking about the internal anatomy. I'm talking about the invisible aspect of you. It is equally a design marvel. It is a phenomenal powerhouse. I just want you to be mindful of this even as we go into this session tonight. Yeah, you are indeed a phenomenal powerhouse, but the issue is oftentimes we slip out of that ignorance or we slip into ignorance of that fact. We slip out of the consciousness or the awareness of what we actually are made of or what we actually are capable of. And that is what I want us to explore tonight. You, yourself, you are a being. You say you're a human being, but I want you to focus on that being for a bit. That means whatever happen from inside of you. You are being. Being. You are not being. That means it's not that life happens to you. You are the one who actually happens to life. Follow me closely. I'm trying to lay a foundation on your identity so that you can understand how to unleash the power of your mind. So, first, you are a phenomenal powerhouse. And second, you are a being. That means you happen to life. Thirdly, you must also understand that you are responsible for all the outcome that you have had in your life thus far, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's ugly. Now, it's easy to say, you know what, the good things were the things that I made happen for myself, and the bad things or the things that were not so good were the things that happened to me. Before you go too far, I want you to think about it closely. That whether it is good, whether it's not so good, your income level right now, your emotional level right now, your financial, your physical level right now, your mental level right now, your emotional level right now, your environmental level right now, the state which you are in right now is completely your responsibility. Let that sink in for a bit. Fine, you might be quick to say, how about the times when you were young and innocent and you didn't know your left from your right? The ugly truth is, everything is inclusive. You remember we mentioned at some point in our sessions that you're a sum total of your nature, your nurture, and your neighborhood. So this is not the time to cede responsibility to someone else. This is not the time to pass the buck of your life to someone else. This is the time to admit that where I am right now, I am responsible for it. And until I can get past that stage, that I am the one responsible for where I am right now, you might not be able to project further into taking subsequent responsibilities for your life. If you continue to live in denial or you cherry pick on your success vis-a-vis your failures and say, okay, when it comes to failures, life happened to me, but when it comes to successes, I happen to life, then you are still living in denial. What you need to do, you need to get to that stage where you take absolute responsibility for every fiber of your life. I recap. First, you're a phenomenal human being, a powerhouse. Yeah. Next is you are the one who happens to life. Life doesn't happen to you. And three is that you must assume responsibility for the sum total of your life thus far so that you can project and take charge of your life going forward because you want to unleash the power of your mind. Who is ready tonight? If you're ready, I want to see the chats buzzing and I want to know that I'm feeling people in the room tonight so that we can have some vibrant energy. All right, let's get right into it. Your mind power is a function of that third thing I just mentioned, is how aware or how conscious you are of the responsibility that you have for all your outcomes. That is your mind power. Maybe you want to put that down. I'll take it slowly so that you can write it down. Your mind power is the full consciousness or the full awareness of that responsibility that you have for every outcome of your life. That is your superpower. That is your mind power. If you have that awareness that you are the one who calls the shots for your life, for where you are, the kind of people that you are associated with, the kind of atmosphere you create for yourself, the kind of mindsets you have, the kind of belief systems you operate in, the kind of failure codes that you've dumped, the kind of success codes that you've imbibed, everything all together. The more you come into that awareness, the more you exercise your mind power. All right. Now, as we look at life, I'm tempted to go into a bit of quantum energy. And quantum energy makes us understand that we are all vibrations. This might be a familiar statement to some and it might be new to others. But you must understand that the person you are looking at through your screen right now is a bunch of vibrations that has come together to feed a sense of your sight, the physical sense of your sight, and projected an image into your mind. So, in other words, I am not what you think I am. I am actually what your mind interprets from your sense of sight. That means if you were visually impaired, what you will interpret or what you will make of me will be the sum total of the data that gets to your mind. Having this at the back of our mind, I want to introduce us to the inner and the outer worlds. This is the mystery of two worlds that we live in. So that we don't continue to see ourselves as being this physical being that we see. We are actually a combination of two worlds. There is the physical or the visible, let me put it that way, and there is the invisible aspect of our lives. These are the mysteries of two worlds: the inner world, which is the invisible world, versus the outer world, which is the visible world. The inner world is what you also refer to as the soft world, while the outer world, the ones that you see that you can interpret and imagine and make sense of, is what you call the hard world. So, soft world, hard world, invisible, visible, inner, outer, thoughts, things. In the inner world, what you experience are thoughts. In the outer world, what you experience are things. Is someone catching it this evening? And I'm not sure if the chat message is working, but I want to make sure that everyone is feeling me tonight. Okay. So as you're get me just dropping it in the comments. So let me know that you're in the room and you're also feeling the vibe. So we're talking about the mystery of two worlds, the inner world and the outer world. I've said the inner world, you can also call it the soft world, the outer world, the hard world. The inner world could be the invisible world. The outer world could be the visible world. The inner world operates on thoughts. The outer world operates on things. The inner world operates on design, while the outer world operates on building. Imagine, okay, for instance, you want to construct a building. The first thing that happens in the construction process is the thoughts, and the thought leads to designs. That is where architects come into play. They draw up a bunch of blueprints, they draw up the mechanical blueprints, they draw up the electrical blueprints, the plumbing blueprints, and all that. All that is at the concept stage, design. That is what happens in the inner world. On the outer world is when you actually take materials to site, construction equipment to site, and people start building. That is the outer world. But you must understand the mystery of these two worlds that are living together as one. In the inner world, you have what you call cause, C-A-U-S-E. In the outer world, you have what you call effects, cause and effect, design and build, thoughts and things. In the inner world, you can use an example of what you would call an ailment or a disease. But in the outer world, you will only interpret symptoms. For instance, if someone has a rash on the skin, the rash on the skin is visible for the eye to see, but the rash on the skin is just a point at something else that is invisible, because you now need to figure what is causing the rash, because different things can cause a rash. It could be allergies, it could be irritation, it could be things happening from within the skin, it could be anything. But you must understand that these are two parallel worlds that work together. Another thing I want to say about the inner and the outer world is laws and manifestations. In the inner world, you experience laws. Everything is governed by laws. The speed of light is a law. The speed of sound is a law. Gravity pull is a law. Weather actions is a law. All these things are laws. How the earth revolves around the sun, they are laws. But the physical manifestation is the fact that you hear what I'm saying. You see what is being projected. If I hit the lights in this room, what you will see on your screen will be pitch black, but it doesn't deny the fact that I am here. Are you catching what I'm dropping tonight? I'm trying to introduce you to the concept of two worlds, that what you interpret is a function of what your senses are feeding your mind. but it doesn't mean that that is all there is to me. There is an inner world that is taking charge or giving direction to the outer world. And you must understand this if you want to shift gears into your mind power. And that is why we're talking about this tonight. Let's talk about the word reaction. When you say someone is reacting to something, the word reaction, if you actually break it down, it simply means to act twice. Re is to repeat something. Action is the verb. So when you say reaction, that means you act twice. Now, for instance, if I tell you that I have put some money into your account, I put some money into your bank account, the expression that comes to you, if you actually believe what I said, will be a positive in your account. But guess what? You have not even seen money. So the mind will first take an action that there is money in the account. Will do is to validate what I have said. Your bank, checking with your bank, checking your app or whatever it is. Now, that second action is the reaction. And same thing happens in every area of our lives. That for everything that we do, it is always a life of reaction. Whether we are thinking of a building, then eventually building it, or we're thinking of what are we going to have for dinner, and we eventually cook the dinner, everything happens twice. I'm going somewhere. Most of you are familiar with the things that I'm talking about, but I want to just lay that foundation properly so that we can get right into what we're dealing with tonight. You know that there is the inner and the outer world. You know that we do everything twice. And having that information at the back of your mind helps you to understand what happens between the first action and the next action. The first action and the reaction. Let's go to our sentence a bit. Remember what I said in one of the sessions about the difference between the remote control and the device. The remote control, let's take for instance, I have a remote control in my hand. I said the remote control is not the device. It is just a sensor that triggers an action for the device. Right now, behind me is a light tube, and this is the remote for that light tube. Now, this remote is not the light, but this remote captures information and sends it to the device. Now, let me paint it in a better sense. Our five senses, the sense of sight, sense of sound, sense of smell, sense of skin, and sense of savor, those five senses are like the remote control. All right? The light behind me is the mind that captures all those things. Now, when the remote control sends information to the device, it doesn't mean that the remote control can take the place of the device. But guess what? We live in a life where oftentimes the remote control, in this case, that is playing the role of the inner world, gets more attention than the device that is playing, the device that is the outer world seems to get even more attention than the remote control that is the inner world that is actually sending the signal. I don't know if you're following me closely. The mind, okay, I think I mixed it up. The mind here is the light. The remote control is the senses. The mind is visible. The mind is invisible. The senses are visible. So oftentimes the senses that represents the outer world gets more attention than the mind that is in the inner world, because we subscribe to that seeing is believing mantra. All right. And having this at the back of our mind, we tend to shift attention to the wrong things. And as such, we give the power that we are meant to exercise, we give it away to the wrong item. In this case, we are shifting our focus from the supernatural senses to the natural senses. We've spent a good chunk of our lives living by the things that we are familiar with, the things that our eyes can see, that our ears can hear, that our tongues can taste, and all that. And we prioritize them over the things that our eyes cannot see, that our ears cannot hear, that our tongue cannot taste. Now we want to create a power shift, and that is the essence of this session tonight. What is your level of awareness of the power that you have within you versus the power that is manifesting outside of you? That is the question. What is that level of awareness? Are you aware enough that there is a power inside of you that is stronger than the power outside of you? That is the question that you need to answer if you want to unleash your mind power. Your mind power is unleashed by your thoughts. Your thoughts are the tools of trade. You've gone through this session. We've done about 80 days and counting, and we are wrapping up to the end of the session. And you're defining the concept of a new me, and you understand that there is so much of mind over matter, and there's so much that you can do from within yourself. Now, to establish that power or to take control of that power, you must understand the tools of the trade. And that tools of the trade is your thoughts. Your thoughts happen in the inner world while things happen in the outer world. What kind of world do you want to create for yourself? What kind of life do you want to create for yourself? What do you want? What are the things that you desire? The things that you desire are actions that needs to first be created by a prior action, which is your thoughts. And if you remember, I made it clear that your thoughts are electric. They are signals, vibrations going on in your neurons, in your brain. 80,000 of them on the average, from 50 to 100,000 if you're an adult. All kinds of thoughts going on in your brain every now and then, every single day. So that you don't go mad or go crazy, the mind has a way of compartmentalizing those thoughts. There are some information that it keeps in a vault because you don't need them every now and then, so that it doesn't get into your consciousness all the time. And there are some it keeps in your subconscious, and there are some it keeps in your conscious. You have the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious folder. All these we've talked about in the previous session. Now we want to bring to bear, how do we use these things to unleash our mind power? Did you know that your thoughts, or that you yourself, you thought your way to where you are at the moment? You know, I was talking about the fact that you are responsible for your life and all your outcomes to date. Do you know that everything that brought you to date is a product of all that you thought yourself through? You thought yourself through school. THOUGHT. That is thinking. You thought yourself through school. You thought yourself through a career. You thought yourself through ability to make money. You thought yourself through ability to make friends. You thought yourself through getting a home. You thought yourself through virtually everything. There is nothing in this life of yours that you have done without initiating a thought. Everything started from the place of a thought. Now, if you have that knowledge at the back of your mind of the ability to engage your thoughts, then you will understand that your thoughts are actually what you can use to get the results that you want. I understand people have not been able to get through in chatting, sending chats. I have no idea why that is, but nonetheless, let's just get right into it and continue. Okay? Having that at the back of your mind that where you are today, you thought yourself through it. That gives you the confidence that the future that you desire, you can actually think your way into the future that you desire. That means the future that you desire is not the future that just falls on your lap. It is a future that you can actually create from where you are right now, taking a look at me. And that's what we want to unfold in the course of this session. How you can start from a place of thinking right, aggregating your thoughts properly, and channeling them into the direction where it should go. That is what we're talking about. That is your mind power. Your mind is very powerful. You know that. Your mind is super powerful. Everybody knows about the power of the mind. The mind can do all kinds of things, do all kinds of wonders. But have you ever come to think about it? That as powerful as your mind is, your mind is still subject to you. Your mind is not you. You are not your mind. Write that down. Even if you can't type it in this comment section, take it down in your notes or put it in the WhatsApp group. You are not your mind. You are separate beings. I mentioned at the beginning of the section that there are three components to you, and you know that already. Your mind is subject to you, just like your senses are subject to the mind. Follow me closely. Your senses, eyes, ears, nose, skin, everything, they are subject to your mind, and your mind are subject to you. So who are you? You are a spirit. That is who you are. You are a spirit. Your mind rests in a faculty called your soul, and your senses represent your body. So when we look at the mysteries of the inner and the outer world, the spirit and the soul that sits the mind operates in the inner world, while your senses and the rest of your physical body, your physiology, your anatomy, and all that operates in the outer world. But they work together in the same parallel. There is not one that works in isolation of the other. But you must understand the responsibilities that are attributed to each one of them so that you can understand how they work together to create the future that you desire. Just as your senses are a remote control operated by the mind, your eyes, your nose, your tongue, your skin, your ears, they are remote controls that are operated by the mind. In the same way, your mind is a remote control that is operated by the spirit. Is somebody catching what I'm dropping tonight? Follow me closely. I'm going somewhere. You are a spirit. You are not this. You know all this concept already, but I just want you to understand it in a different light, especially by who is responsible for what. Because if you want to unleash your mind power, you better know who is calling the shot in your tripartite members. Your mind is is that faculty that gathers all the data of your life. Your mind knows you more than anyone else. Your mind knows your deep secrets, even the things that you won't tell anybody else. Your mind can suggest things to you because your mind has all the three folders. If you remember the session where we talked about the mind, we talked about the fact that the mind keeps secrets, deep secrets, evil things that you can't be caught sharing with anybody. Your mind has those information. They are deeply rooted in the unconscious folder. Your mind has subconscious folder that helps it to collect it, to retrieve information at will. And your mind also has a conscious folder where it processes momentary actions. The mind knows all these things. The mind knows it has a lot of power. Information is power. It has lots of information. But the spirit must understand that it can overrule whatever the mind suggests. The mind has the liberty to suggest anything to the spirit. The mind can say, you know what, spirit, I think we should do this. But it is the spirit that will say, you know what, no, let's do this. If you remember the session where we talked about alignment, the head, the heart, and the hands must align. The head is the spirit, the heart is the soul, and the hand is the body. They must be in alignment for there to be a definite action in the right direction. But the mind is equipped with so much information that it tends to manipulate the spirit to give direction. And guess what? The mind is not doing this with any evil intent. The mind is doing this out of its frame and makeup because it cannot judge between positive and negative. The mind is just open. The mind doesn't have a moral code to tell that this is good or this is bad or this is ugly. The mind just takes information and archives it in the respective folders. It is the job of the spirit to discern what the mind ought to instruct the body. Because the mind controls the body, but the spirit controls the mind. Are you following me closely with what I'm talking about tonight? The mind has no moral code to judge positive thoughts or negative thoughts. That's why we find ourselves in situations where we grow up with failure codes. If the mind knew any better, the mind would have filtered for on our behalf that no, this is bad programming, this is good programming. But the mind doesn't have the capacity to do that. That's why we found ourselves in a situation whereby we ended up with some failure codes that have chased us or directed us in the wrong directions of life. Thank God for sessions like this. Thank God for knowledge experiences that recalibrates our senses and helps us to understand better that we need to know better to do better. That is when the spirit is now empowered with the ability to overwrite whatever the mind is saying. And that is what mind power is about. We want to unleash our mind power that helps us to know what you are actually capable of, so that you don't all the time just depend on whatever your mind suggests to you. You need to exercise the power to overcome whatever the mind suggests to you. And that is what I wanted to talk about tonight. It's going to be a very short session, but I just wanted to let us understand that as we use our mind to influence every area of our lives, we must understand that we are the ones who need to take charge of our minds. And how do we do this? First, we take charge of what comes to the mind in the first place. Our senses, what are our senses feeding us? Because the senses are equally ignorant. They lack the judgment to filter anything good from anything bad. Whatever the eyes are open to, the signal goes straight into the mind. Whatever the ears are open to, the signal goes into the mind. Whatever the tongue is open to, the signal goes to the mind. And same for the sense of skin and sense of smell. Now the mind takes all this data, good, bad, and ugly, and it keeps it in its repository, waiting for the time it will use it to manifest some things. But when you now find yourself in a situation whereby the mind is suggesting to you actions that you need to take, you need to be in control as the spirit to make the best sense of judgment. The mind could be manipulative. The mind could play tricks on you. The mind could try to suggest things to you that might bring you up or put you down. But it is now you that you need to take charge of the mind and give clear-cut direction in the way that they should go. You overcome unwanted suggestions. Whenever the mind suggests things to you, for instance, if you get a doctor's report and the doctor's report tells you things that you know that you do not accept, the mind got that information from your senses. Your senses saw a blueprint of doctor's report, and the mind just told you, the spirit, that this is what the doctor said. But you now have the mind power to say to the mind that no, refuse to act on that report. Now, this is where I'm going. How do you exercise authority over what your mind suggests? It comes from a place of continuous practice. It comes from a place of continuous awareness. It comes from a place of continuous consciousness of who you are and what you want. We've spent 80 plus days in letting us understand that you are not meant to accept just anything that life dishes out to you, but you must understand that you are the one who happens to life and not the other way around. So whatever it is that you want in your emotions, in your environment, in your finances, in your relationships, in every area of your life, you call the shots. You must understand that is the power that you have. And that's why I've taken time to lay all the foundation of all that I've said so far tonight. That all these things happen for you to understand the resources that you have within your arsenal to manipulate in the way that you want. Let's start with the body. And tonight, I can as well just take both the mental health, mental aspect of your life and the physical aspect of your life. So let's look at the body, for instance. What are your body goals? What are the facts and truths that you have learned about your body? What are the things that you have succumbed to? What are the things that you feel you can change? The power is yours. The mind, the job of the mind. Now, I'm taking all that we've shared so far in the last half hour about the mind, and we're now applying it to different areas of our lives. The mind, the job of the mind is to bring suggestions to you. You read a blog post, you read an article, you read a doctor's review, you read this, you read that. All that are information that goes through your eyes into your mind. And the mind says to the body, this is what the doctor says. Now it is up to you to now make the final judgment call on what you want the mind to do. For instance, if you want to go on a challenge or a physical workout challenge, I shared a video in the course of the week, last week, about someone on YouTube. I shared a YouTube video about someone that fasted for 55 days because he was obese. There was doctor's reports asking him not to do so. Every odds was stacked against him. For those of you that have watched the video, you know what I'm talking about. All the odds were stacked against him. That guy, this will kill you. Nobody has ever tried this. Nobody has ever attempted this before. But he had a strong why. He was sick and tired of being sick and tired of being obese. And he said to himself that, you know what? I'm going to get this thing done. I'm going to find a doctor who will work with me and follow me on this journey to make sure that what I want to achieve, I achieve it. That is mind power. That is what I'm sharing tonight. Your ability to look at all the facts on ground, to look at all that the mind has tabled before you, and understand the power that you have as spirit, that you can overrule all the suggestions of the mind, just as the mind can overrule all the suggestions of the body. And as such, you can beat the body to subjection. What are your goals? Is it relationships? What exactly do you want from relationships? What are the things that your mind has fed you? What are your failure codes? What are the stereotypes? What are the programmings that your mind has learned over time? Which of them are you willing to accept? Which of them are you putting your foot down to reject? The power is yours to exercise. That is what I'm talking about tonight. Your ability to exercise your power and control and decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do. Enough of accepting anything that life dishes you. It is time to take back control of your life. The environment. The easiest thing to do is to give excuses about your environment. Oh, this is the reason. Oh, the country is not good. Oh, the economic situation is poor. Oh, if you're looking for a reason, you'll find a million. And if you're looking for results, you'll find a million. It is all about perspective. So you can see all the facts on ground, and yet you can choose where you want to place your heart, where you want to place your mind, where you want to place your body. The call is yours to make. So if you look across every aspect of your life, what I'm trying to make you understand is you actually have the power to overcome what your mind suggests to you. I've always said it every now and then in this session that you really don't know your own strength. And as I introduce you to the remaining 15 days of this challenge, I want to let you know that you need to come to the awareness of your own strength. This spirit of yours can do amazing things. This mind of yours can do amazing things. This body of yours can do amazing things. But the question is, how much of this phenomenon that you are, how much of this powerhouse that you are you exercising? Most of us are working way, way, way below our capacity. Most of us are far from what we ought to be doing. Most of us are far from achieving that which we ought to be achieving by now. And that is why we signed up for challenges like this. But I have come to remind you, or scratch that, I have come to unlock everything that is standing in the way of your thoughts that you need to listen to anyone else but your spirit. What I've simply come to share with you tonight is you have been given the absolute control by God who created you. He has given you the absolute control to create the atmosphere that you want. Never for once think that there is a destiny that is prescribed for you that is subservient or anything less than what you should become. Whatever it is that you are meant to become it in full. And you have the absolute power to take charge of what your mind serves you and become that thing to the fullest. That is why we have affirmations. That is why we have auto suggestions. That's why we have groups like this. That is why we have the fora that brings us together, that makes us to think about whatever it is that we want to do and simply believe that you can do it. And that brings me to the concept of faith. One of the things that you need on this journey of exercising your mind power is a kind of faith that is ridiculous. You can as well call it ridiculous faith. The kind of belief against all odds. Because now you understand how everything works. You understand that what you know is pretty much what the mind is feeding you. Now you know that you have more power over that mind. So you know that you are not subject to every information that that mind feeds you. Then you can walk limitless. Then you can walk without boundaries. Then you can cross hurdles. You can walk on water. You can take a leap of faith and you can fly. You can be the best that you ought to become. You can take your body and instruct it to fight any and every disease because that is its job. Never subscribe to any theory that your mind suggests to you to say because your mom is diabetic, because your granddaddy is diabetic, and so you should accept diabetes. No, these are suggestions of the mind. You, as the spirit, have the right to overrule it. Is somebody catching what I'm dropping tonight? That whatever it is that you have as facts before you, they are nothing compared to the truth that you know. Because fact is just a compilation of data. But fact is not all there is to you. Truth is superior to facts. Fact is a function of discovery. And we all know science is a perpetual journey of discovery. Today they discover something and they make it a fact that, okay, this is what happened. Tomorrow they discover something superior and immediately they jettison the old theory and they come up with a new theory. That is science. It is a continuous journey of discovery. But if you base your life on science, you might be limiting your potentials because science will still discover something 10 years from now if this world is still here. And they might say, oh, sorry, we were wrong about that. This is the new fact. So imagine if you made a decision about your life premised on a fact that has been obsolete and dumped. That call is on you. Ladies and gentlemen, in summary, I'm trying to let you understand that to unleash your mind power is to take absolute charge of every fact that your mind gives to you and you decide what you want. A very good analogy is you walk into a restaurant and the restaurant presents you a menu of what they have available. And you look at the menu as all the facts on ground. and you insist that you want something that is not on the menu, what you will call an a la carte, that is your mind power. Your mind power just simply means you must not be subject to the things that you see all the time. You must understand that there is more. You can be more. You can do more. You can have more. Your mind power is your ability to understand that you can go borderless. You can explore life without limits. You can be a champion on top of your game on every grounds. That is your mind power. Another thing I want to say about the mind power is your mind power sees abundance as a lifestyle. Your mind power does not see scarcity. Abundance is the lifestyle of the person who has exhibited his mind power. Just knowing that there is more than enough. Enough of us making decisions out of scarcity. You think that before for someone to succeed, someone else must fail. That is scarcity mindset. But abundance mindset says, you know what, I can succeed and so can you, because there is more than enough resources for everyone on planet Earth to consume and still be in wealth. But what is the state of your mind? Is your mind at that state that it mentally permits itself to go all out and get all that it needs to get? That is what you need to do with your mind power. Whatever it is that you visualize, do not let anything stop you. In the remaining days of this challenge, do not let anything stop you. Do not let the facts trick you. Do not let your mind manipulate you. Always believe that there is more, especially when the mind tells you that it is impossible, when the mind tells you that it is ridiculous. You tell the mind that there is a way, because the spirit, once the spirit is willing, it can always make a way. That is the mind power that I'm bringing to you tonight. That you can get from that stage where you begin to take back the power that has been given to the mind for so long. You know, many people are talking about the mind, and so much power that the mind has, and all that, but they are failing to understand that the mind is not the most powerful entity in the makeup of the human being. You are not a mind, you are a spirit. You have a mind. The mind is your resource to work with. You have a bodysuit. A bodysuit is a resource you work with, but you must awaken that spirit that you are. Do not let your mind misguide you. Do not let your mind limit you. Do not let your mind box you in. That is what we're talking about tonight. So as I close, I want you to take absolute charge of the remaining 15 days and say to yourself that it doesn't matter how much testimonies I've gotten, I can get more. It doesn't matter how much successes I've achieved, I can achieve more. It doesn't matter how much I think I've come through, I can still cover more. I can still go more grounds, because you are operating in abundance, because you are unleashing your mind power. So as you get into the WhatsApp group tonight, sorry for a reason that I can't explain. I can't see the comments, so I'm not sure if the comment is activated, but you can go to the WhatsApp group and just type it there. that I unleash my mind power. I am spirit and I unleash my mind power. Put it that way. Type it in the WhatsApp group and say, I am spirit. I unleash my mind power. By typing that down, what you are putting into your conscious thought is that your mind does not have power over you, but you have power over your mind. So put it in the WhatsApp group, say, I am spirit and I unleash my mind power. And with this, I begin to call the shots on every area of my life, my physical life, my financial life, my social life, my mental life, my emotional life, my environmental life, every area of my life. I am spirit and I exercise my mind power. Go and take charge. As you enter this week, go and take charge. Anywhere that you've seen a report that has made you close a case, go back and reopen that case. Anything that you have seen before that has hitherto limited you, go back and revisit that situation. If you had gone for an interview before and they said, okay, for these reasons that are very well justified, sorry, you are not qualified, go back and reapply. Because this is not for the regular folks. This is for those that are limitless, that want to say, you know what? I do not operate under the laws of this world. I am limitless. I do not operate under the because this session might not sound like a regular, interesting, exciting session because we are preparing the foundation for a different level entirely. It might not make sense to everybody, and it's okay. For some, you might need to watch this video maybe like 3 or 4 times because before you even make sense of it. It's okay, but let it sink in. Understand who you are. Understand the power you carry. Understand the decisions you make. And do not let anything or anyone else make decisions on your behalf. Go ahead and exercise your mind power. And on that note, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Get back on WhatsApp group, reiterate there that I am spirit and I my mind power. See you on the other side. Cheers.